All right, love doing this every week. Ricky Larson, Lucky Shots Media with us. We're going to run through the games and get you set for your optimal fantasy lineup here for the NFL week. Let's start Thursday night football. I think it's a good starting question. Can we trust Aaron Rodgers again? I think he had his best game of the year fantasy wise. He did indeed. It was just 19 points. Not great, but do you take it and do you roll A-Rod?
If I had the option to this week, I probably would. I've got Tua in two leagues, so I got to figure out how to replace him, and I have Brady in my other league, so all my quarterbacks on bye. I think I'm rolling out Baker Mayfield because that was the best option I had on the waiver wire. If I had the chance to roll out Aaron Rodgers, I definitely would. Uh, why not? Looks like he found a guy. I am hesitant because a few weeks ago when Romeo Dobbs had a great game. We thought
Mhm.
Romeo Dobbs would be the guy. Christian Watson now emerges as kind of MVS almost, three big time touchdowns. And without those, Rodgers doesn't have a good game. So
Right.
uh, I think, where we're sitting, if you've got, one of those quarterbacks that are on bye, he's a definite streaming option, but he's not somebody you could start over, really anybody else that you do have in your lineup. Like right now, I've got Matt Stafford that I possibly might have to roll out. Matt Stafford or Aaron Rodgers. I think I'd trust Aaron Rodgers a little.
Yeah, agreed. And you said it reminds me of like the Patriots, where it's like, and Rodgers kind of like plays favorites, where it's like, hey, if you're doing well, I'll feed you, and if you're not, I'm not going to feed you. So like, do you expect? He was arguably the hottest commodity off the waiver wire, and I was kind of like, you know what? Do I even put a waiver claim in because it's so, it's like if someone's going to get him. Do you think that's going to pay benefits immediately, or as you said, are we just gonna? Is it going to kind of be a dud following up his incredible game?
Right. Yeah. Most I could see him as is a streaming option for this week. If you got somebody out, the other guy, just said his name, Christian Watson. Uh, are we going to trust it? Are we going to just try to ride the wave? I mean, if you're going to ride the wave, this would be the week to do it just straight off of a big time game. And hopefully, I expect to see regression. I don't expect to see three long touchdowns again, but, uh, kind of just gauge and see, does he still get 8 to 10 targets? Does he
Yeah.
still kind of show that he is the guy that Aaron wants to go to? If he does, then boom, you've got somebody in your lineup that you can kind of trust for the rest of the season. If not, then you're gonna have to pivot away from them and just kind of see what else happens.
Kind of a dud week for Derrick Henry. You're starting both running backs, arguably with Henry and Aaron Jones. Do you think maybe Jones has a better week than Henry again, or is Henry going to
Hmm.
reclaim his throne here?
Um, I can't off the top of my head think of what Tony Pollard did last week, but if I do remember correctly, he had some decent runs. I don't know if it turned into a whole lot of a game, but I think you're fine with Derrick Henry. Again, the Packers front defensive line little banged up,
Yeah.
linebackers little banged up. So I think it'll be a fine week for Derrick Henry. Uh, Aaron Jones, I don't know why we keep splitting that backfield. Trade away AJ Dillon, get something else for that team because
Yeah.
Aaron Jones is the guy. I think he's a great person to start. I think it'll be a good game.
Let's go to the excuse me, Colts, and that's my squad. That's my coach, Jeff Saturday, Colts and Eagles. Interesting. AJ Brown obviously was no show. Devontae was fine, but it was kind of a touchdown to get his week going in the right direction again. I a lot of question marks, I think, here, except for my voice is leaving me, except for Jonathan Taylor, who came back in a big way.
Yeah, yeah, I think Taylor will be just fine. I think Antonio Gibson punched himself into the end zone last week. Brian
Yep.
Robinson had himself a few pretty good runs. So I think you're fine there. All I needed from all that I needed from Devontae Smith last week was 29 points. He got himself to 17, which I was like,
Yeah.
hey, there we go, there we go. And then they kept trying to throw the ball to AJ Brown. So I was just very confused about that. Uh, I think I think you are going to be fine playing either one of those receivers. Um, then you get into the backfield. Miles Sanders, he's a guy that I've kind of been like, yeah, he's doing better than expected. You could probably roll him out. I don't think we saw really much of him last week. So,
No, if they're like down, it almost eliminates him.
yeah, because he's not involved in the passing game.
Right.
So, I'd probably move off of him a little bit uh, and just stick to the receivers on that side, Dallas Goddard, and obviously Jalen Hurts.
Goddard now injured too, so you might have to be looking for a tight end streaming option there. He's
That's
bummed
true.
me.
I forgot about that. So I don't know who their secondary guy would be.
Great question. Yeah. So maybe even more target share for some of these guys we just talked about.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Colts are number one against wide receivers. When did this happen? Okay, I guess we'll take it, even though Devontae kind of went off last week. We'll see if losing ways continue for the Eagles. All right, Rams Saints. Let's talk about the injury that shook the world. Cooper Kupp. Is he going to come back? He's probably out at least for the fantasy regular season, if not all the way up to the title. All right, so what do we do? I mean, Stafford is basically, neutered, but is there going to be some PPR points for Robinson? Van Jefferson's come back, Higbee, or is it just going to be an all-out dud that none of us want to watch?
I'm leaning more towards that dud. I mean, here's the thing. If Matt Stafford had been showing anything else throughout this season besides I'm throwing to Cooper Kupp and that's where all of my value lies, we just haven't really seen it. Robinson's had maybe a game where he was like, maybe we can start him.
Yeah.
And that's really been it. I know that he's a guy you like, Tyler Higbee. I could see him pulling out, quite a few targets. Don't know how valuable those targets will be, but targets are just in themselves valuable. So he probably could be startable, but I would literally lean away from everything else.
I was just going to say, is there any must start in this game? I don't think so. Except Kamara.
Yeah. Not particularly. Yeah. I mean, you could start Kamara. I think you could probably, if it's a flex position, be playing Chris Olave. He's a guy I had high expectations for, especially with no Michael Thomas. A couple of weeks without even Jarvis Landry. Like, it was him and no one else really. Juwan Johnson, he's a guy at the tight end position that I like. I think you can start him, but it's kind of tough. Yeah, you just pretty much stick with Alvin Kamara there and possibly plug and play Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson.
Yep, like it. Yeah, it could be a dud fest, but that's okay because we've got the fantasy bonanza game potentially here with the Bears and the Falcons. Justin Fields, roll him out with confidence that he's he's a 30 burger, he's a 40 burger. He's projected ESPN top 4 quarterback. He's going to get you 20. Can he get you 30? Can he get you 40 again? It's been awesome to watch. I like Mariota as a streaming option because I think this is going to be a good game, not unlike the Bears and Lions, to where they're just going to be throwing into it. Because otherwise, if the Falcons are winning this game, comfortably, maybe that's Patterson's game, but all of a sudden what do we do with him? He's a little bit too touchdown dependent. What's your read on this game?
It's hard for me to sit here and tell anybody to trust the Falcons for fantasy football. I think on the Bears side, it's Justin Fields and it's Cole Kmet.
Yeah.
Possibly David Montgomery since Khalil Herbert went on to IR. Maybe you can get a little bit out of him. On the other side, though, Mariota, I guess, maybe a streaming option. Like Rodgers, and it's funny that I'm in fantasy football putting Aaron Rodgers and Marcus Mariota kind of in the same category.
Yeah, disgusting.
But I think you can start Patterson. I think it'll be an okay game for him. This Bears defense is absolutely atrocious. That's why they continue to lose games. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, is this a week where Kyle Pitts plays well? I mean, not even plays well. They
Yeah.
just give him the football because they just don't want to give him the football. He's somebody possibly you could roll out as well if you need to, and it could be a lot better of a game than you're expecting.
I love how ESPN keeps putting these projections out for guys like Allen Robinson and Kyle Pitts. It's like, all right, this is this is the week. Yeah, okay, thanks. But we'll see. Maybe it is the week. Yeah, you know why Cordero was an absolute no-show last week? Because all those crooks at DraftKings got together and were like, you know what, we're gonna boost his anytime touchdown, and of course he's not gonna, he's gonna sniff 6 touches.
Right.
So maybe now's the game. Now that people are, it's not prime time anymore. That was crazy. All right, Commanders, Texans. We're loving our guy Heineke. McLaurin is loving it as well. He's turned into kind of a must-start guy with Taylor under center, but apparently Ron Rivera hasn't seen enough to be totally committed to him. Texans, a couple streaming options with Nico Collins. You're probably going to roll out Pierce. You said you're going to roll out Gibson. Robinson had a lot of carries recently. Thoughts on this game?
Yeah. So as much as I love Taylor Heineke, you don't want to start him in fantasy.
No.
They won the game. They played really well, and Heineke had like 8 points. So
interception, 170 yards. Yeah, he's just a
definitely,
gamer.
yeah, definitely don't want to roll him out for fantasy, even though he is the best option for them at quarterback. Gibson, this backfield, it's tough for me to gauge because if you look at it, Robinson's getting more of the share, but Gibson's getting more of the value.
Right.
Because he's getting those inside the 10-yard line runs and stuff like that. He's also returning kicks. So you've got the chance he maybe pops off a touchdown on a kick return. I think you're good to start both of those guys, especially if you're sitting there with not a lot of running back depth like myself. Where if I've got one guy coming out, I don't have anybody else.
Right.
So I think you'd be fine there. McLaurin for sure. Curtis Samuel continues to just be involved.
Right.
It just depends on what he can do with those touches. He's a guy that you could flex as well. And then Philly. No, hold on. Who are they playing? I lost my train of thought here.
Commanders, Texans.
Texans.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just say Dameon Pierce. That's really all I see there. You kind of like Nico Collins a little bit this week, possibly.
That's deep. Deep. Yeah. Maybe DFS. Like if you're stuck.
Yeah. So I wouldn't trust much more than Dameon Pierce for that offense.
Jets, Patriots, we go in the division. Jets coming off a bye. I think the Patriots coming off a bye too. Yeah, they are because I have Ramondre and Michael Carter. I have to play both of them. Ramondre I like. Michael Carter's a little bit more of a crapshoot. Outside of that, like Wilson starting, your boy Ohio State, Garrett Wilson starting to announce himself. You like a Patriots receiver for your DFS, even though you can't necessarily trust him. What's your read here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there will be one wide receiver for New England that has a good fantasy game. I don't know who it's going to be.
Yep.
My pick was Nelson Agholor for DFS. But you never know which wide receiver it's going to be for New England. It's one week it's Nelson Agholor, the next week it's somebody else. I don't know who all they have because they've got a lot of
Thornton or something.
Yeah, they've got a lot of nobodies there. But Ramondre, you're good with. Honestly, you could probably start the Jets defense.
Yeah.
Like I think the Jets defense this week is going to be just fine. Mac Jones prone to turning the ball over. So I think the Jets are going to be able to go out, run the football. They've established that's how we are going to win games. That's what we're good at. James Robinson, I think you're good there as well. Garrett Wilson, just 17 points casually the last two performances for himself. So that's pretty much where I'm sitting there. Maybe if you want to start the Patriots defense too, because
could just be low scoring.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of passing value out of a whole lot, but Yeah, maybe you could start both defenses because if Wilson does have the ball in his hands, he's just as prone to turnovers as Mac Jones. So
Right. You are starting Barkley in this potential bonanza fantasy game as well. He's projected to basically just go nuts. He's projected 25 in ESPN. He's, running back 3 all season long. Nothing suggests he's going to have a poor performance against the Detroit Lions. Outside of that, DFS, I like Daniel Jones. Maybe he can have a game right around 19 points. Let's talk about the Lions backfield, though, as it's still cloudy and it's been a little bit. You've been more plugged in for it because of your ties to Swift.
yeah.
What's going on there?
Apparently Swift isn't the guy. It's
Mm,
apparently Jamal Williams. That's who keeps continuing to get the carries. And the value carries as well down near the goal line.
yeah,
I don't understand why we don't trust Swift. We saw before he got hurt that he was a great option for your team, like your NFL team. So I don't know. He's not getting a lot. If you're going to start a running back, I hate to say it, but I think you start Jamal Williams. He gets more of those valuable touches. St. Brown had himself a good game last week. I think you can count on him again. Uh, Other than that,
about
probably
it.
stay away from a whole lot of that because I don't know. I'm sitting here with DeAndre Swift, who I got as a part of a trade for Jamar Chase, and
Yeah,
I mean Chase hasn't played, so I'm technically winning that, but
right.
still
Not
not
feeling
getting a
great
lot
about
out
it.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah. We might be staying away from this game as well. I don't know what to do with the Ravens. Mark Andrews, is he going to be healthy? That's a huge question mark. Devin Duvernay has been, I'm about to just outright drop him. You don't know who it's going to. Is it Demarcus Robinson? I think the only sure thing here is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is Deontay Foreman, because is Chuba Hubbard all of a sudden not the guy anymore?
Yeah. Foreman, I was very mad at myself last week to begin the week because I had Foreman on the bench, goes out and scores 19.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, damn it, I should have put him in because my other two were Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Taylor. And I was this close from starting him over Jonathan Taylor just because I was like, Taylor is not doing anything.
Yeah,
By the end of the week, I was like, oh, okay, I'm fine.
we're
Both
good.
my running backs outscored that 19, but still 19. You throw that into your lineup, you're going to be happy with it. So he's the guy, I think.
But is it just against the Falcons? Is that the only thing? Is that
Well, no, I mean we've sat here and we've watched Foreman go off against other teams. I think he's a
yeah.
good running back. Uh, what do we expect from this offense with Baker Mayfield? It was announced he will be the starter.
Yeah.
Eh,
Right.
I
Good
mean,
point.
are they going to draw up packages down near the goal line where they're like, "Hey, Baker, you just kind of step back, see if you want to throw it, and then run," because
Yeah.
Baker's that kind of guy as well. So that's going to be tough. Yeah, I think you pretty much start Lamar.
Yep.
You start Foreman. Maybe stream DJ Moore.
Yeah. Okay.
And I mean, I'm streaming Baker.
Yeah.
I don't want to, but
Best of
I
luck.
have to. So
Yeah.
uh, I guess he may be streamable as well. We'll see.
Let's go to Baker's old team, Browns, Bills. You're going Josh Allen. Good to see that he is still healthy. You're going Stephon Diggs. Was it Gabe Davis? Obviously, you said that the wide receivers went off. It was 1-3
Yeah,
last week against Vikings.
7-9 against the
7 and
Vikings
9.
last week. Yeah.
I gave him too much credit, but yeah, they're legit. Make sure to start them. Amari Cooper, it's only home games. This is another road game. He didn't do anything in Miami. Is he going to do anything in Buffalo?
Um. So I've seen the forecast calling for
Oh,
an
yeah,
ungodly amount of snow.
that's right.
Honestly, you start Nick Chubb and you start Josh Allen, and that is it.
Mm,
That's where I'm sitting because I
yeah,
don't think there's going to be a lot of passing with it's projected maybe 6 feet of snow. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of passing going on. So Nick Chubb's going to run it about 50 times, I think. Josh
yeah,
Allen will probably run it about 30. Devin Singletary has been getting uh, a lot of carries and making something happen out of it as well. So possibly him. But fun fact: if they do get 6 feet of snow, Nick Chubb is 5'11". Devin Singletary, I believe, is 5'7". So both guys won't even see over the snow.
Yeah,
So
running
we'll
through
see what happens.
piles. Interesting there. Yes, look, I love football in the snow, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. That total is at 42 and a half, and it's plummeting. All right, let's go to your hometown Broncos. Let's get the read on Broncos country. Let's ride. You've got
Mm.
Derek Carr crying at the podium after he loses another game. Devontae, where are we at with Josh Jacobs? And then Broncos, I mean, Judy, is he injured? What do you trust any member of that receiving core? What do you do with the running backs? Because you got Gordon and Latavius.
Yeah, so we'll start on the Vegas side because I think they have more playable options. Um, you're playing Adams.
Yep.
You just kind of have to. You could possibly stream Foster Moreau. We talked about him on my show with no Darren Waller. He has proven to be pretty decent at times. Last year, put himself into the tight end 1 or 2 spot without Darren Waller. So
Hmm.
possibly that could be a thing that happens again this week against Denver. Uh, Honestly, toss both defenses up. I think both defenses might be all right. Denver, maybe just start the running backs. Uh,
Yeah.
for me, I think it could be Latavius Murray this week that gets the bulk of it because the Raiders, they're terrible against the running back. The last 3 weeks, it's been top 3 running backs. It's been the top running back 2 of those 3 weeks. So, throw out Latavius and Melvin Gordon because one of them's going to hit. You just don't
Yeah.
know which
Right.
one. But other than that, it's a game that you're kind of just poking with a stick.
Do
Like
something.
do something, please. You can't get
Um,
much out of it.
we might be doing the same with the whole stick to this game. Bengals Steelers total is only at 41, divisional game, and you have highlighted, Ricky Larson, that the Steelers defense could give Joe Burrow problems. What about the entire Bengals offense?
Yeah. Well, I think if Burrow is struggling, the offense is going to struggle. If we go clear back to week 1, yeah, Joe Mixon have 21 points, which was pretty good. That was one of our prop bets in my show was whether or not he'll get to that total again.
Yeah,
What we do have to keep in mind is that all of the fantasy points that happened in that game came after TJ Watt was out of the game.
interesting.
TJ Watt's back in the game, back to being healthy. I think it's going to be tough sledding for Cincinnati's offense. Pittsburgh's offense, who the hell knows where they even sit right now? You've got a lot of guys with a lot of potential. Deontay
Yeah,
Johnson is a stud. George Pickens is a stud. Najee Harris is a stud. But you really can't play any of them in fantasy because their offense just isn't doing anything.
great point.
Uh, so again, I think it's a game where you can start the defenses and feel all right about it. Uh, Aside from that, maybe on the Bengals side, you could probably look at starting T. Higgins. I think he'll be okay. Uh, even though it's going to be a tough game, I think for Joe Burrow, I think there's still a receiver on that side of the ball that's going to get a decent game.
Yeah, agreed. ESPN loves Higgins for what it's worth. They got him wide receiver 6 in projections. They love Mixon as well. And then, yeah, you said it's kind of, disappointment on the Steelers side of things. Well, this should be a banger of a contest. Cowboys Vikings. It's in Minnesota. Minnesota's going to be going crazy for this one, I imagine. They're riding high. Their entire team's wearing all the chains. So it's everyone's loving the Vikings this year. And I think I'm loving most of these fantasy matchups here, right? You're probably starting Dak and Kirk. You're obviously starting CD and Jay Jettas. And then Pollard and Zeke are interesting if Zeke comes back. What's your read?
Uh, I would still lean with Pollard there. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, he's been a
he,
stud.
yeah, he's shown, hey, look, when Zeke's not in, I'm easily your starting running back. When Zeke is in, I'm still easily your starting running back. I'm still doing better than Zeke.
Yeah.
If Zeke does come back, I think he'll be on a pitch count, so I think you'll still be okay rolling Pollard out there. Uh, I think I might be a little hesitant on the quarterbacks.
Okay.
because I feel like both these defenses could force turnovers. Uh, but I think as long as the quarterbacks throw maybe only one or two interceptions, they'll still have decent fantasy games because I'm expecting 300 to 400 yards out of both with touchdowns on top of that. So, uh, as long as they keep it minimal with the interceptions, I think they'll still do all right. Uh, yeah, but honestly, I think it's a game where everybody's going to have
Eat.
decent fantasy days. I think you're going to see in every position, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, you're just going to see somebody from this game within that top five in all those categories.
And it's a great point too. Kirk and Dak are kind of ranked right on top of each other, right on that fringe quarterback one standpoint. So I mean, I guess it begs the question: would you rather go those two or Aaron Rodgers tonight?
I'd go either one of them over
Yeah,
Aaron
over
Rodgers.
Aaron.
Not because I think Rodgers is going to do bad, but even with the big time touchdowns he had last week, he still only scored about 19.
Right.
I think both of these quarterbacks are going to throw for a lot of yards, a few touchdowns. Yeah, some interceptions will be mixed in there, but I still think that puts you a higher total over Aaron Rodgers, who is going to throw for maybe 250 and a touchdown or two.
Let's rank these four. You've got Daniel Jones, Mariota, Kirk, Dak.
All right, so Jones, Mariota, so and then Kirk and Dak. You said
Yep.
we'll go Kirk Cousins, then Dak, then Daniel Jones, and then Mariota.
Okay. So they're kind of
Mar-
on top of each other.
yeah, I mean Mariota, I think is by far the fourth. I think Daniel Jones, you could make a case that he might have a better game than Dak.
Mhm.
Uh, I think Kirk is on top of that just because he's going to have to throw a lot to keep them in this game. I think that Dak, this defense could hold them in it a little more. So he might not have to do as much as Kirk will. And Daniel Jones, it's just a great matchup going up against the Lions. I think,
Sure.
I don't know how he gets his fantasy points. I don't know who the hell he's throwing to over there.
Yeah.
But he gets it done streaming wise most weeks with anywhere from 15 to 18. So could be a good week.
Could be a good game. Chiefs, Chargers. Start Mahomes. You're probably starting Herbert, even though it has pained me all year. I mean, you just can't get away from the guy, which frustrates me. Other than that, I mean, it's interesting. You had Hardman miss a game, but he's been electric when he's on the field for Mahomes and company. Let's see here. You're going to start Eckler. Do we have the return of Mike Williams? Will that improve Herbert? What do you see here for the matchup in LA?
The Austin Eckler,
Mm,
100%. I think because we talked about it on my show, I think he'll lead the team in receptions.
yep.
And just continue to do Austin Eckler things. Mike Williams, I mean, if he's playing, you got to roll him out because again, it's who is Herbert going to throw to. And if Mike Williams is back, that's a big target. That's a recognizable guy for him. So I think he'll look that way. Um, I really don't feel much else for the Chargers offensively.
What
There's,
about this Kansas City backfield? Clyde Edwards-Helaire has essentially been benched.
yeah,
Oh my goodness. I mean, he scored 0 points. He had the old goose egg. Can you trust Jerick McKinnon? I mean, all of a sudden I'm having to thrust him out there. He's the passing down guy. Pacheco's been running it.
yeah,
Disappointing for fantasy managers for that backfield.
yeah. I think if you're going to start anything in the backfield, I would start Pacheco. He touches the ball more than McKinnon. Uh, and neither one has shown a lot of value with any of their touches. But I think if Pacheco's got more opportunities, he possibly could be the guy to get the touchdown opportunity, something like that.
Right.
McKinnon, who knows? Maybe he goes out and gets 6 catches or something and breaks something big off. I don't trust that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Good point.
you're starting Mahomes and Kelsey. I think you can roll out Juju. I think you can roll out Hardman if he is playing. Both those guys have kind of solidified themselves as actual wide receiver targets, which, eating my words that I had at the beginning of the year for Kansas City, because they have made themselves scarier than just having Hill and Kelsey. Now it's Kelsey's obviously the one, and then you've got, Juju and Hardman who are getting very involved in different ways and figuring out this offense and how to make themselves work in it. So, yeah, I think you can start both of those guys as well.
Ricky Larson, Lucky Shots Media will get you out with this Monday Night Football, Niners Cardinals. Potentially, they didn't rule out the possibility that Hollywood Brown might come back. What does that mean for D Hop? Probably means my boy Rondell Moore is screwed, even though he's had a couple of nice weeks. Niners, I mean, you're rolling with Debo if he's healthy. You're obviously rolling with McCaffrey. Last game of the week here. What do we got?
Possible streaming option in Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yep. Get you a nice
I
15.
think that'll be a decent play. Um, Arizona is just tough, man. I mean, they've got all of the same players they had to be successful fantasy players last year. It's just kind of, you know,
James
Kyler,
Conner,
maybe.
last 2 weeks I've enjoyed. I just traded for him. He's been all right. Maybe that's the key to getting him back healthy.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, after being the touchdown machine last
Right.
year, been kind of definitely a letdown year, which reminds me of back when he played for the Steelers and had a good year, and then the next year was just Uh, but yeah, I think you can roll out Connor.
Yeah.
You're going to roll out D Hop. Um,
Right.
I wouldn't be too worried about Hollywood Brown this week. Like, if he comes back, I don't think he's going to have an immense amount of impact. But being that if you are a Rondell Moore guy, then yeah, I think you're still going to have to worry about that. Zach Ertz
Yep.
is
Done.
just tough.
I think he's
I
out
don't
for the
know.
year, and now they're
Yeah,
gonna get. So I don't even know who their backup is, but tight ends are dropping like flies right now. Goddard,
yeah,
Ertz.
yeah. And
Um,
Ertz was a guy that I could count on most weeks to just give me a decent line, and now got to kind of figure out what to do past that. Tough.
I wish I could have seen, Ertz, Hollywood Brown, D Hop, and Rondell Moore all on the field at the same time. That'd be with James Conner. That's a little bit
Right.
better of a team. Maybe we see Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler at full force. Ricky, you want to promote your stuff, where we can find you, what you do throughout the week? Great stuff as always. We appreciate the fantasy football insight.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just Lucky Shots Media, pretty much everywhere: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Uh, Tuesdays go out and do fantasy football, kind of run through, who had big games last week, what I think is going to happen this week. I put out a love hate list, start and sits, kind of give just general idea of what to expect from
Yeah.
most of the players in the league. Wednesdays, or in this case, a Thursday, I'm on with Mr. Corbett. We do a betting show. We talk about the lines from the week before, lines we think are going to be great this week. Throw in DFS lineups, which Dylan is beating me 5-4 right now, so I need to win this week. And prop bets, which I'm giving up hope on because we put up the prop bets, and Dylan just seems to know exactly what to bet on
Yes.
every one of those prop
Yes.
bets. But and then I haven't done it the past few weeks, but I also do a game day show. Uh, Talk about all of the games, what to expect, who I'm picking for those games. So a lot of that, just kind of, it's a fun hobby, just sit
Love
around
it.
and talk about football all the time. I like it. So,
Yeah, and you do a
uh,
great job. So make sure to check it out. Check out the most recent show. It's coming out today, and the dude's been hot. So he's been cashing some underdogs. So check out his picks. The podcast drops today. I'll retweet it on my channel, and we'll talk to you next week, Ricky. Appreciate it.
yeah, thanks for having me on.